Welcome to the Agency Uplift Podcast, the show all about the unique experience of growing an agency, the ups, the downs, the challenges, and the learnings. I'm your host, Sean Lang, agency owner of over 7 years and co-founder of Social Commerce Club. And today I'm joined by, and actually I just realized I never confirmed before. Is it Shopé?
Bingo, exactly. Shopé, like going to go
Nailed
to
it.
a
I mean,
show.
I already knew. I wanted to make sure. Founder of Building Block Digital, they exist to help brands harness the power of their email and SMS list to drive massive revenue growth. Man, I'm so happy that we finally were able to make this happen. How's it going?
It's going pretty well, man. Aside from the fact that I feel as though I just tore my rotator cuff or some, like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to probably go to the ER after this. But aside from that,
Oh
I feel
no.
great. Uh,
Aside from that, aside from the old man sports injuries, they're coming for us now.
yeah, exactly. We look young, but we ain't that young. At least I'm not. Yeah, I don't really know about you. Like, you look like a spring chicken, but at
I'm
least
I'm I'm gonna be really real right now. I'm 38.
you're 38, dude. I would never would have guessed. I
Oh,
just
thank
turned
you, thank you.
36 a couple days ago, 5 days ago.
Oh man, the next 2 years you're gonna learn so much. You're gonna learn so much from 36 to 38. It's gonna
It's
blow
gonna
your
blow my
mind.
mind, right? It's weird because 36 now, I feel like I gotta round up. I'm like, I'm almost in my 40s. That's wild to say,
Yeah.
bro. That's wild.
No, we
But yeah,
we still round down until you hit 40.
I get to
You
round
round
down.
down. You just say I'm in my 30s. That's
There
it.
you
That's it.
go. There you go. Buck the rules of math. It's all good. I'm in my 30s. Let's do this.
So I always like to start with a bit of an origin story because everyone's is slightly different and there's always patterns as well. Why did you do the wild thing, which is start an agency? What led to you starting an agency?
Short answer, I needed cash flow. I'm gonna be real with you, right? Long answer, I solved the problem that I had and realized that I kind of wanted to pivot into this business model because it had some benefits that the other business model didn't have. And so I was at a fork in the road where I didn't have the ability to do both. And so I decided for the time being, I'm going to actually focus on the agency. Long story short, a few years later, got the agency get off the ground, got it, getting it. You're always in that space off the ground. And now I'm actually going to circle back to that original business model and essentially start doing both. But yeah, quick origin story. I started off as a musician. I'm finding out like there's a bunch of us in this space. I guess it's just a product
There are.
of trying to sell yourself for so long. You're like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
sell
Yep.
anything. Started off as a musician, had the opportunity to tour the world, really, tour Europe, tour parts of Africa, tour the US, tour Canada. Yeah, I was doing it at a pretty like it was independent, never signed to a major, but I was doing pretty well independently. And then the pandemic came and kind of like just like stalled all of that momentum, which is actually at a very critical time because I had kind of like hit critical mass. You do your 10,000 hours, and at that point in time, I was in talk with major labels and major management companies. So I'd been independent up until that point, but I was actually fielding these conversations, right? And then the pandemic kind of like happened at that time, and so obviously everybody's priority reorganizes. My conversations dried up. I can't tour anymore. I'm like, snap! I got to make some money. I got to figure out how to get this done. And so I decided I was going to start an ecom brand. I said I was going to start an apparel brand. And then my primary go to market for that was going to be through Meta, Facebook ads at the time. And so I spent a whole bunch of time learning manufacturing, pretty much getting product to market from idea to market. And then I was also thinking of like, okay, my rollout strategy, my GTM strategy is going to be Meta. So I dug deep into like Meta ads and how to launch. And I'm not kidding you, Sean. I'm not kidding you. Like maybe a month before I launched, iOS 14 happened. And that's not I'm not even making that up. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like,
Ooh,
"Are you kidding
yeah,
me?"
that was rough.
Right? I spent the last 2, 3 years I spent the last 2 years prepping this thing. I know Meta has, like, the back of my hand because I learned from the GOAT, Nick Shackelford. Anyone in this space knows he's the GOAT of not email rather, of, Meta ads, at least he was at the time. And all of that almost becomes obsolete overnight. I'm like, "Crap," and now I have stock and inventory. And so I get on the interwebs. I'm like, bro, how do I digital market? How do I sell my stock? And so one thing led to another, and I ended up discovering email marketing through this course that this guy started. And then so I kind of like started implementing some of the things he was teaching, and I began to see the needle move for my own product. I was like, oh snap, this stuff actually works, right? And in some ways, it's more predictable. Not in some ways, in many ways, actually, it's more predictable than Meta, right? That's not to say Meta and paid media don't have their place in the marketing matrix. It's just that on a level of like ROI and predictability, email is just like it's undisputed, right? And I saw that it wasn't like you can be excellent, like you can suck and still make money off email. Like put it that way, right? But obviously if you're excellent, then you can make a
Go
crap ton
on.
of
Tell
money.
me more.
But obviously it gets a little more complex, more you get into the weeds, but basically it was very predictable and it worked for me. I was like, "Oh, snap, this stuff actually works. It's real." And then in the process of doing that, I solved it for myself. And then just to be frank, even though like my brand was growing, like e-com is a very capital intensive business, right? And I was literally the only person I was doing it on my own, right? So obviously you have some of your excuse me. And obviously you may have like contractors that you hire, but for the most part, I was a one-man operation. I was sourcing the manufacturer, I was fulfilling the orders, I was doing the marketing, and I was starting to run out of money. Like I was bringing revenue in, but the margin was so thin, partially because I was new in the industry and it was just a lot of work. And then I learned email marketing and I started catching wind of the fact that, hey, do you know there's some brands who pay a lot of money for this email marketing stuff? Like it's really valuable to them. As I started fielding the market and I was like, oh, snap, you're kidding me. Like people are willing to pay like good money for this. And so at that time, I really made a decision and said, okay, like I would like to continue my brand, but I think I'm going to kind of like put that on ice for now and focus my attention on the agency, which has its own benefits. It's a great cash flow business, right? It doesn't scale as easily as e-com, but it's great for cash flow and it has its own its own attending benefits. And so I pivoted and decided, you know what, I'm going to go into this and just really take what I've learned to solve my own problem and start helping other brands solve their problems. And that's kind of how I ended up starting Building Block Digital.
That's awesome. I love that you saw a big opportunity and you went for it. Super, super smart. Um, in the early days, because you called yourself out as sort of like a always selling, like that's the in the music world, you're always selling yourself. So in the early days, how did you acquire new business?
One to one. So if there's a book back there, Alex Ramosi. I mean, everybody knows who Alex is at this point. But he talks about like the core four: one to one to many. I forget the other two right now. But basically, I hit up my DMs. I hit up everyone on Instagram, which is interesting because they had known me as a musician up until this point. And so I couldn't just start posting because it would be dissonant with my audience. But I realized that in my network, people knew people, and so I started hitting up people on the DMs like, "Yo, I'm in this thing. Do you need any help? Do you need any support in this?" So I went through a long list of people, and then as it would happen, I happened to reconnect with a fellow producer. He was also a musician, and we hadn't spoken in like a couple of years, right? And I hit him up. I'm like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing, email marketing for Econ Brands. I don't know if you know anybody who's involved, blah, 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 blah." And we hadn't spoken for years, and it's like, "Yo," it's like, "How you been?" I'm like, "I've been great." It's like, "Bro, you're in the e-com space now?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Me too." I'm like, "Oh, word." I'm like, "What do you do?" It's like, "Oh, man, I do paid ads and CRO." I'm like, "No, you're kidding me." So we reconnected, right? Had a drink and a cigar, and then I pretty much gave him my backstory of what I'd been doing for the last couple of years. He gave me his backstory, and it was so similar, my guy. We were both doing music, and at some point in time, we decided to branch off into other things, and then ended up in e-com. His service was different from mine, but he was further than I was, right? So he kind of had knew a bunch of things like Slack communities I should join. He had contacts, and so just going through my DMs one on one, just kind of like I guess providentially or like connected me with him, and then he was very pivotal in plugging me into the right community. So he plugged me into certain Slack communities, and then he actually eventually sent a lead my way, right? And it was through him that I was able to sign my first like not my first client ever, but my first recurring clients, right? Actually, my first couple of clients came through him just because he was very generous with his time and generous with his resources. And he's like, I don't do email, but you do. Here are some people who I think could be helpful. But it all started with me going one on one in the DMs.
And you know what? I think that one-on-one in the DMs is still such a powerful way to, I mean, first build relationships and then second acquire business. But you kind of have to build the relationship before you can acquire the business anyways. And I think that's what a lot of people get wrong is they just go right to acquiring business when it's like, no, like you actually just need to like understand this person as a person first and get to know them and appreciate them for who they are. And then if you can solve a problem, then guess what? Now you are allowed to bring up that conversation, but like you don't really have any right to before. Like
Exactly.
These people that kind of like spam your inbox.
The challenge is
Not
that
the way to
it's
go.
slow and everybody wants to automate everything. And to be fair, like I've also fallen into that trap before. You're like, yo, listen, I can't do like 6 month conversation with 60 people, bro. I just want to sign a client right now. I get that. I get
Yeah.
it's a slow process. It's an arduous process, but it is the process. You know what I'm saying? It's not the only
Yeah.
process, but it is the process that yields like massive outcomes. You get what I'm saying? You just have to be willing.
Do you still do that? Do you still run that play?
Yeah, I still run that play. I still run that play. Yeah, I was running that play for like the last 6 months. I froze for a couple of months because I wanted to explore something else, and that something else hasn't really worked out. So say, you know what, Shopee, like just don't be a fool. Go back to what you know always works, right? I kind of got too frisky there. I wanted to like kind of like speed things speed things up a little bit, right?
Like what would Hormozy say? He'd be like, "Why are you doing the new thing when the current thing works and you could just do more of that?"
Bro, like I shiny object syndrome. Like, which just goes to show, like, like no matter how far along, you can still be susceptible to that, and you kind of have to like remind yourself like what is working so far. And I was seeing progress on the
Especially
DM,
as an agency owner too,
especially
man.
see it.
Like
You know what I'm saying?
we have so many. There's 10 times as many shiny objects for us to like avoid. Basically,
Exactly.
it's brutal.
And I was seeing progress on that, but I decided, I'm gonna stop this because I'm gonna do this other thing because this thing is probably gonna be faster and blah 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 blah. And it hasn't worked. And you can make an argument that yeah, if I kept doing this other thing long enough, I may eventually see a result. But I was asking myself like, why would I do this when this is costing me more? But that thing was working. So I said, you know what? Screw that. I'm gonna go back. So I'm still in the DMs, striking up conversations, getting to know people. And of course, there's a balance where you kind of like want to find an in. You kind of like want to see if you can pitch, but like my strategy has changed. Whereas before I was like, for real, I gotta get to the pitch in like 4 messages flat. You know what I'm saying? Now, now it's more like I want to, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but let me dig in and pull it out and really get to know this person and see if I can make my way there. Um, yeah, and I think the former is just a consequence of living in this age of more, 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 faster, faster, faster. And so we all feel this innate pressure to scale in 3 months flat. I have to 10x my agency within the next 1 year. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, yeah, that would be nice, but like if you if you give yourself over to that mentality, you constantly live in this state of angst where everything has to happen right here and right now. And not only could you potentially like kill your business, you're just never going to be satisfied because you always want more faster. But if you can, I'm not like preaching. I'm more so like vocalizing my own self talk. By the way, right? And like, if you can get to this place where you're not complacent, of course, right? But you're also not. You're giving yourself a longer timeline, then you can be a little more patient. You can be a little more genuine. You can be a little more authentic, which is what social media is supposed to be about or conversation is supposed to be about, right? Because if you know that I don't have to 10x it would be nice. I would like to, but I don't have to 10x my business in the next 6 months. It's okay. It's cool.
Well, you're also gonna make better decisions as well. You're gonna make decisions for longevity rather than like quick hits. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you, there's a book on it. I haven't read the book, but I fully agree with the philosophy. Like, you have to slow down to go fast. Like you literally do. You have to back it up. It's kind of like, you're on a bicycle and you're trying to win the race, or you maybe just want to get there as fast as possible, but you have flat tires. Well, if you pedal as fast as you can, you're still gonna go slow.
Sorry. Yeah.
Whereas if you just stop the bike and spend the time to pump the tires and then ride, guess what?
You
You're actually
get
gonna go
that.
faster.
That's a beautiful metaphor, but it's so true, and it's so true, right? So, yeah. To answer your question, I'm still in the DMs, striking up conversations, picking up old ones, and just forming new connections, man. Just getting to know people for real.
That's awesome. I'm always sort of learning that side of the business more and optimizing. And one thing that's really helped me, and this might be new to some listeners, this might be new to you, or you've heard of it before, but one tool that has helped me immensely is a tool called Condo. This this isn't a paid sponsorship or anything, but it's basically like a LinkedIn CRM. You can create all sorts of like tags within the inbox so that you can like keep specific types of leads um, organized, and you can set reminders for yourself. So like if I have like 40 warm leads that I'm always talking about, I'm getting reminders like, oh, it's been 3 days. Reconnect with so and so. And then you just and it's all the guy, the programmer who built it. His whole thing is like the LinkedIn inbox sucks and it's really, really slow. And this helps you to go really fast. And so you can actually run everything by hotkeys. So you can like move through, you could go through and re-engage with like 50 to 100 people if you wanted to in like an hour or less. Just because you're using the hotkeys, you can set up snippets for like quick, rather than typing out the same message over and over and over again. It's been awesome. It's 10x my ability to just follow up with the people that I had conversations with and just forgot, because once you've got like 100 conversations going on, 40 of them you're gonna forget. Like they're
Yeah,
gone. They're done.
yeah.
So Kondo, it's Kondo, has been a game changer for me.
Please,
Highly recommend.
if once we get off this, send this to me. Send this to me.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
that may work well with another tool that I discovered and I was using. I'm sure you've heard of Expandy. I don't know if you're supposed to be like blasting them out like this because LinkedIn is kind of like so like they're compliant, but I also know like LinkedIn kind of like monitors this thing. But Expandy with an I at the end helps you automate connections and message sequences, basically. Now you can you can be a fool and like throttle it, but they always try to pull you back and try to make sure that even though it's automated, they try to mimic kind of like on the back end human interactions, you know what I say? And I know like just doing that was very helpful with helping me connect with a lot more people in my ICP. And so my following and my network just grew on autopilot by like 50 connections, 20 connections, 30 connections every day. And then my feed started resembling more of the type of people I wanted to be able to interact with and comment on. You get what I'm saying? And it was through that I was able to like form connections with people who I've been building relationships with over the last like 3 to 6 months, right? And even though I haven't done business with them, they're starting to see me and recognize me as an authority in my space, right? And it was just a lot faster because it automatically goes and finds these people and send connection requests. So you're not spending hours trying to like build lists and send connection requests yourself. It's so I might look into this tool and maybe pair both together because I did find the inbox really sucks, and I've had to try to create
Yeah.
my own jerry-rigged system of trying to make sense of who I'm following up on, but it's terrible, man. It's very terrible.
No, man, Con knows what you're looking for sure. Yeah, it'll change the game for you. Um,
I
okay, what?
No,
Yeah.
before you went on, I kinda wanted to dig into your, your DM strategy a little more. Are you sending manual requests yourself?
So I've tried both. I've tried the automated approach, and while I found that it works, I find that I get infinitely higher quality conversations from people that I scope out individually. One thing that I found that works really, really well is if I'm connected to my ICP. Generally, LinkedIn will also recommend more people that are very like your ICP on the side. So I also connect with those people as well. And then I'm generally not sending a connection request message. But once they accept the request, then usually I'm just introducing myself. And it's always based around connecting on the idea that like we're both in kind of a crazy thing. Like agencies are kind of wild. Like agencies are a roller coaster on the best of days.
Yeah.
Like let's chop it up. Let's just talk about that. And that's generally a pretty endearing sort of connection. Like, oh yeah, it is kind of crazy. And then I might ask a few questions. Uh, uh, if they don't offer anything up, often people will just offer a whole bunch of stuff up, and then we'll just talk about that. And then if I think that there's an opportunity to solve, then I'll throw a bunch of free value. I'll link them to one of my podcast episodes that talks about this specific thing. I'll send them a document based on my coaching frameworks that is going to like help them solve that. Like yesterday, for example, a guy reached out to me based on one of my posts and said like, I'm having a really hard time with hiring, and it just seems like I always have to step in, and they're never really the right fit. And I said, oh well, like my team management and hiring framework, that I've got that covered in like role scorecards. Do you want me to send you like my scorecard framework? He's like, oh, that'd be super helpful. Boom. Just sent it to him right away. He's like, this is great. This is super helpful. Now I'm this guy that already understands what his problem is, and I've already solved the problem. And now
Yeah.
he's going to go through that. And maybe we'll chat later, maybe we won't. But at the same time, no, I've added a ton of value to him. That's someone who now I've marked as a lead in condo, and I'm going to follow up with afterwards and see how he's doing, see if he has any questions, see if he wants to talk about how I implement this with clients, etc. So I'm always leading first with value. I'm not just like the thing that I hate the most in LinkedIn DMs and reach outs is like, I am a web developer. Here are 5 websites that I've done. I can do it for $20 to $25 an hour. Here are the platforms I use. Like, I never asked who you are, and why are you sending me this thing? Versus like, if there's a problem, someone comes to me with a problem, or comes to me with a they're in a time, or they're on a journey that I know you're going to be going through at least one of these 3 to 5 things. I got stuff for all of that. Can I send you something? I think it would probably be helpful. And then it's generally helpful. It's never not helpful. Basically, leading with value. So that's my general strategy. That's why I don't really like the automated approach as much, because I find that it doesn't lead to nearly as many of those solving opportunities. I don't want to sell. I want to solve. If I solve something, then we're probably going to do business together.
Got you. Do you set a quota for yourself for the number of new connections you wanna make? Like rough quota.
I used to. I'm an achiever. I'm a numbers driven person. But if you incentivize the wrong thing, then you get the wrong outcome. So I eventually, it was more of just checking a box and being like, I did 50 again. I did 50 again. When in reality, of those 50 or whatever the number was, maybe only 20% of them were actually worth the time that I took. So I'm much less target driven now, and I'm much more really, really looking for quality. Like, if in 1 week I get only a few really, really strong connections or strong leads, that's way more valuable than if I did a ton of volume the week before, but nothing came of it, right?
Mm-hmm. How would you speak to the concept of at bats?
I think that it's much. I mean, that's something that's really, really important, especially early on. Like, you can't understand what quality is until you understand what quality isn't. So you really, really need to go through. It's kind of like, as an agency, like figuring out your ICP. If you've never done the work before and you're just starting an agency, you don't know what your ICP is, and you kind of like, what I always tell people is like, you know, your your yeses are only as powerful as your no's. So you do need to start saying no to people so that you can actually work with the right clients. But if you don't know who the right clients are, then basically everyone is the right client until you figure out otherwise, and you have to. So at the start, especially in the DM game, I do think that you need to fall on your face and message all the wrong people and try all the wrong tactics, but because you don't know that they're wrong until you know that they're wrong, basically, right? So start with volume and then optimize, and then optimize, and then optimize. It's either the never optimizing or starting and thinking that you're already optimizing, which is a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem, right?
So is that your primary first of all, I understand like you're not really in the ops of the agency, right? Like of your
My current agency,
yeah.
I'm not running the ops of the agency anymore. I'm like, we have a whole team now. We have 40 plus people. So I'm currently now building out refining processes, just basically streamlining things, constantly, migrating things over to Airtable to make it more integrated, so that then we can like add AI and automation and stuff in there. So on the agency side, I'm not doing a whole ton of that. So I'm building agency uplift, right? So that's where LinkedIn is really big for me.
Got you. So is LinkedIn DMs your primary strategy for lead gen, or are you doing other things, or are you just like LinkedIn is where you're at?
You could say LinkedIn. The primary strategy is LinkedIn and this podcast,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
I get it.
Right?
I get it.
Because again, it's all strategic, right? It all comes down to ICP.
Yeah.
I'm only talking to people either like as the guest or as the audience who is ICP, which is why I'm really happy having a very small audience, because I know that everyone who's listening to this podcast, hey listener, you're my ICP, and that's all I care about.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. No, I mean, I love how well thought out you are about this whole thing.
It's the power of frameworks, man. Once you kind of like actually design the structure and design the system, and then just follow it, it keeps you from shiny object syndrome. I mean, for the longest time, I thought I had ADHD. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I'm pretty sure I don't. I'm pretty sure I'm just an agency owner, and I just didn't. I lacked the focus. And it's not that I lacked the focus. I just didn't have guardrails. I didn't have systems or structures to sort of keep me in. And And once I built that for myself, I was like, oh, everybody else needs this too. Like this is a problem. But hey, when did you take over this podcast? This is my show. Stop interviewing me.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry,
interviewing
kind of
you.
for the tangent there, because I like having real conversations, brother. Like this is how.
Do you guys hear how smooth Shopé is? Do you hear this? Like, man, you must absolutely crush on sales calls.
I mean, I could I no, I feel like I could be better. Honestly, if I'm being very frank with you, I don't think sales is my greatest strength. But because I've intentionally like taken courses and coaches to try to get better at it. What I think I am is I think what my real strength is I'm a pretty decent operator. Um, in terms of running ops and coaching and training the team and bringing them together. I think that's where like I really thrive. And I think that I think that's where I really thrive. On the sales part of things, maybe it's just because I've never prior to the agency, I never did it. I never saw or even understood sales. And so I think I'm getting better at sales, but I don't think I'm great yet, to be honest.
I think you're probably selling yourself short. The people I know who undersell themselves at sales are generally like they're kinds of people where I'm like, okay, just tell me where to sign and take my money, please. Like
You know what? One of the big lessons I've learned about sales is getting out of your own head, because it's true that there are good frameworks for like taking a sales call and you want to ask these kind of questions, but you can get so caught up in like the flow of how your questions are supposed to go that you stop listening to the person, right? And so much of sales is just psychology and trust, right? And so because in this conversation that we're having here, there is no I'm gonna call it an ulterior motive. Not that there's an ulterior motive in sales call, but you know what I mean? Like, there's no like, I have to get this thing. It's like, I'm just really getting to know this brother and we're just really having a very good conversation. I'm actually dialed into what you're saying and I can kind of like follow the train of thought and have questions. The problem is with sales calls where at least how I was approaching sales calls prior to my new learning is that I'm approaching it like, man, I gotta close this sale. I'm approaching it as I gotta close this sale. And I think if you
yep.
approach it from that perspective, you're setting yourself up for failure, as opposed to like approaching like I'm getting into this call. It'd be great, and it almost sounds counterintuitive, like this is not how a salesperson is supposed to think. But if you approach it from the perspective of like, I would like to close this, but I'm really just getting to know this person and understand their business. Once you actually understand it on like a gut level, if you understand your service very well as well, it becomes that much easier to bridge the gap between like what they're actually going through and what you can offer. So it's less about going through a set of scripted questions and more so about just having that conversation. But yeah, I say all that to say like I think I'm slowly getting better at sales, and I just want to keep taking more sales calls so that I can get better at it and ultimately like hire somebody else to do it because I
Yeah.
do it because I have to, not because I love it.
But the dopamine when someone says, "Yeah, let's do it though."
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Oh,
That's
it's
pretty good.
amazing. It's amazing. It's nearly unmatched. It's
Well,
near
hey man, you've put me on a pedestal on my own podcast, and what I really wanted to do was also like highlight you a little bit. So we're almost at time here, but would you would you be able to recall like a pretty notable client win that you've had recently?
Yes. My biggest client actually, they migrated platforms. It's funny because the one I'm gonna mention isn't necessarily even like a revenue win, which is what people always like will always run to. But for me, it was like it was a deliverability win, which is like an email is the foundation of revenue, right? So this is a massive client, my biggest client, and they had to leave Klaviyo to go to a new platform, right? And they have a massive list. They have a list of like 1.4 million people,
Wow.
right? And you can't just start sending to 1.4 million people, right? Otherwise, you're gonna end up in like in the outhouse. And so it was challenging because we had to go to a brand new platform that it wasn't even one of like the popular platforms like an OmniSend or any of these other guys. It was a platform that I had never heard about before, but doesn't mean the platform has some big players. Like they deal with like major enterprise companies, but they don't have name recognition like a Klaviyo or an OmniSend or whatever, right? And so my client said like, hey, listen, we got this 30-day, I think it was 30 or 60-day notice with Klaviyo that we got to leave. Can your team handle it? Do you think you can? We're considering these different platforms. I talked to my team. I'm like, guys, I'm like, can we do this? Right. And this is where I really shout out my people. Like, I go through great work to make sure my team culture is solid in A1. And I really care for them as human beings. Right. And so thankfully, they always have my back. And so my main tech guy was like, I'll learn at Shopé. It's like, I will learn the program. I'm like, all right, say less. I'm going to give them my word, knowing that you and I are going to do what we have to do to make sure we not only learn the platform, but we can migrate them well. And thankfully, we did. And that was a several month process because we migrated them over. And then the warming process was fraught with all kinds of issues, bro. Like Postmasters was flagging, Microsoft SNDS was flagging, like they were hitting spam like crazy. And so we had to like really do a deep dive, right? And it even pushed us as an agency to get better at what we do in terms of really diagnosing the foundation of email marketing, which is good deliverability. And we learned a whole ton of stuff through that process about how do we work with a new platform that we've never worked with before and really get at the heart of how do you take a massive list from zero to like firing at like a 50% open rate and like a 6% click-through rate, knowing that at one point you were really, really like in the dust, right? And we implemented this, we kind of rewrote a whole bunch of rules, internal systems and processes, and essentially cleaned their list, optimized, created new warming strategies. Ultimately, we're now like their list is pretty much fully warm and they're doing amazing. And because they have such a massive list, like email is so important to their revenue. You get what I'm saying? And just for like, there was a couple of months in there, which, their email it was turned off because they were off Klaviyo and we were trying to get them in this new platform and we're running into issues. But thankfully, I also want to shout out the client as well, because this is a good relationship where, the company understands that like the agency, like it's a collaborative relationship, right? And so we were pulling for them, but they were also patient with us and understanding that a lot of these issues that we were running into wasn't our fault. It was us combating Google and Yahoo and Hotmail and etc. And so that's the win. The win is that very recently, and I just came off vacation. And I just looked at some of the metrics of some of the emails, the campaigns that had been sent while I was away, and these numbers are looking beautiful. Open rates are looking good. Click-through rates are looking phenomenal. And of course, I'm going to check in with the client, and I'm sure revenue is also doing well because they're a huge email revenue company. So that would be the big one, being able to successfully migrate a client, a massive client, from one platform to the other and get deliverability up to speed.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that you steered clear of just the sort of the classic vanity. Oh, we hit this revenue, because at the end of the day, I mean,
I can give
man,
those. I can give those.
functional
Yeah.
business infrastructure. I mean, that's end all be all.
Yeah.
Like, and if you can support the client on that,
I can give those like
that,
revenue numbers for other clients as well, but like everybody does those, right? So I chose to like give, I think, and any serious brand, any serious e-commerce brand who may or may not be listening to this, understand and they get it, that it's easy to fudge like revenue numbers. You know what I'm saying? But at least in email marketing, the foundation of those revenue numbers is really deliverability. You get what I'm saying? Like,
mhm.
how are you making sure like more of my emails are landing in the primary inbox, right? Because that's where it starts. And so I think if those maybe unsophisticated agency people or e-commerce brands who are just looking for the flashy things, maybe this may fly over their heads. But the ones who are actually in this, I think will value what I just said because they'll understand like that is where it starts. That's where it starts. But
Absolutely,
if you want
absolutely.
revenue numbers, I can give you those as well.
All right, give me some revenue numbers, and then I'm going to thank you for coming on, because this has been fantastic.
Yeah, we helped one client, within 3 months of launching using email, we were able to get them 500,000 in revenue, right? So that wasn't their total revenue. Obviously, they had a very good robust strategy or, like a go-to-market strategy. And so the total revenue during that time was about 800K and about 500 of that came through email, right? So they had
Wow.
influencer and Meta. Actually, they didn't even kick in Meta until like month 4, but they had like some pretty like high-level influencers driving traffic. And so we just created this very, very sticky email system on the back end that collected and converted a lot of those. So you were looking at like more than 50% email attributed revenue. So that was an amazing, amazing for one client. What else can I give you? Yeah, another client, excuse me. already doing like 6 figures a month. And so which means like they had like a pretty good systems. And so it was just a matter of like going in and tweaking in, kind of like changing, doing some redesign stuff, some copy, additional copy, and we were able to get them like an additional 50K within like 4 months or so. So that's kind of like more conservative results where it was just kind of like tweaking and optimizing what was already really good. And we're able to see like net revenue lift. So yeah, stuff like that. And there's more that we can go through and hopefully like
That's
even,
awesome, man.
yeah,
Building block digital sounds legit. And it's funny. Like last time you and I hopped on a call, like we had to call it because we could just talk and talk and talk. And I honestly, this could be like much more of a long form podcast episode with the rate of our riffing here. But
yeah.
I do have yet another podcast to get to after this. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, man. Where can people find out more about you and also Building Block Digital?
Dude, thank you so much, man. It's easy to riff with somebody who just like is just has a vibe about them. You know what I'm saying? Genuine, authentic, and so a lot of the credit goes to you there. You want to find me, buildingblockdigital.com. Buildingblockdigital.com is the website. Um, and then I want to tell you how to spell my name on LinkedIn, but it's a Nigerian name, so I don't know if you remember. It's not like Sean Lang. That's just so easy to remember. My name is Mashopi Adeyemi. So if you remember how to spell that, that's why I say the best way. If you go to buildingblockdigital.com, right in the footer, there's a link to LinkedIn, and it links directly to my LinkedIn, right? And then you can find me there. So I'm on LinkedIn.
Perfect. I'll also put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
It'll be there.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Awesome,
Thank you,
man.
brother. This is we gotta have another one after this because, like, yeah, we can go on forever.
We'll have a part two. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah,
Don't you
yeah.
worry.
And thank you so much, man. Like, I think you're doing phenomenal work. Thank you for reaching out, and yeah, man, we'll keep building.
Thanks for coming on, man.